What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Well, here we are in the boat barn. Boat's pretty much not done for the year, but it's going to be a little bit till it sees some water, hopefully soon. But my Bassmaster Open season is over for a couple different reasons, but one of them being in my foot. So hard to be on the trolling motor when you can't even put weight on your foot. But anyway, traveled all across the country fishing from South Florida, Lake Okeechobee, all the way up to Leech Lake in Minnesota, and a bunch of places in between. And I just want to share with you guys a couple of the baits that Missile offers that were key players for me all year in a large variety of different applications. That's the really cool part about Missile, is they have a ton of different SKUs of soft plastics with a large variety of different colors for every application that you can think of. And I used a lot of them, but there were a couple that I really relied on to help me get bites everywhere that I went. And first and foremost, I'll just get right into it. One of the baits that is very well known by Missile, I call it the flagship of their whole soft plastics line, and it's no surprise, but that is the Missile Baits D-Bomb. This thing right here has probably caught more bass than any other soft plastic that is in my boat. I rig it a bunch of different ways. You know, I've used it as a flipping jig trailer. I use it as a football jig trailer. I use it as a chatterbait trailer. I've also, you know, pitched it, skipped it, flipped it just on a Texas rig. Large variety of different weights from Texoma tungsten that I'll rig it up with depending on how I'm fishing it, how deep I'm fishing it, what kind of cover it's around. This thing just flat out catches fish no matter where you put it. I think a lot of that just has to do with because it looks like a bunch of things that a bass wants to eat. It looks like a crayfish. It can look like a bluegill. It can look like anything that a bass thinks is food, and that's what makes a really good soft plastic. As far as the colors go that I use, you know, green pumpkin's always one that I go to first. You know, black and blue, any sort of black and blue color is another one that I go to. California Love is another one. Caught a couple fish at Santee on it. Just a really unique color in that off color. It's got a lot of red sparkle, and it just catches fish. There's no other way to put it. The Missile Baits D-Bomb is a must-have in your boat. No matter where you're fishing, no matter how you're fishing, you will find a way to catch a bass throwing a D-Bomb. The next one is a little bit more of a finessey approach. You know, fishing the Bassmaster Opens, these lakes get a lot of pressure. So you gotta get kind of creative on how you target these fish because they see a lot of things, and a lot of times that means lightening up your line and just throwing, you know, really subtle presentations. And the next one that I used a lot was the Magic Worm from Missile. A bunch of different colors that I used, you know, and I used them on a drop shot a lot. That was how I caught a lot of my fish on Okeechobee. Actually, it was on a spinning rod, 12-pound line, and on a drop shot, just really lightweight. I mean, change up the weight based on how deep I'm fishing, and change up the way I rig it. You know, I mean, I nose hook the little one, but a lot of times I would just be using the regular sized one. It's a 6-inch. Drop shot and a Nico worm was how I caught a lot of fish with this bait. Super, super versatile. They got a lot of different colors to fit any application. Definitely a must-have. I mean, it's in a collaboration with Robo Worm, so you know it's a high-quality bait. Yeah, like I said, it was a really big player on Okeechobee for me, helped me catch a lot of fish, and it just gets bites. Like everywhere that I went where I needed to rig up a soft plastic worm on a drop shot, this was my go-to bait. And even Nico rigging, you know, on the Mississippi River, that was something that I did on day 2 to help me catch one of my bigger fish. Just Nico rigging this and just dragging it around on hard bottom or anywhere. But it's a super versatile bait, works everywhere in the country. You gotta have some sort of straight tail worm. I mean, it's a bass fishing bait. Like, you have to have it in your boat, and if you don't, you're kind of a fool. This next one is definitely a confidence bait for me, and I can't tell you why it is a confidence bait for me, but ever since I started bass fishing, crawfish style baits have always just been what I've used. Being from like south central Wisconsin, Fox Valley area around Winnebago, there's a lot of crawfish in all of our lakes, and it's just something that I've always been able to get bites throwing. So the Missile Baits Crawfather was a very simple, I mean, of course it's going to be one of my favorite baits. It's a confidence thing for me. When I'm not getting bites, I Texas rig this thing on a 3/0 offset worm hook and a 1/4 ounce Texoma tungsten flipping weight, and just cast it, pitch it, skip it, flip it, put it anywhere, and this thing catches fish. Largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass, they all eat this thing. I was having a hard time on Chickamauga for the Toyota Series event. That actually helped me qualify for the pro circuit, which it was then it turned into the invitationals. Besides the point. But I couldn't get bites. I didn't know what to do. So the first thing that I did is I rigged one of these up on a Texas rig and just started casting it around on everything. I mean, I was throwing it in 3 foot of water all the way down to, I think the deepest I caught one in there was like 15, 16 foot. And it just catches fish. And it's super, super subtle. It's not a very, you know, like, yes, these little legs, they kick a lot. But it's not aggressive, not overly like scary, I guess is one way to put it. Like a bass isn't going to be intimidated by this. Whereas some baits just give off so much action, you're almost looking for a reaction style bait. Where this thing, you can just drag it along on the bottom super slow and they just come up behind it and slurp it up, and you jack them in the face and haul them to the boat. So the Crawfather is definitely another one of those baits that played all across the country for me. And this last one, it plays all across the country, but it definitely played heavily for me when I got up north because I was chasing smallmouth around. And a drop shot is a key player. I mean, it's a key player for spotted bass too, and I did catch some spotted bass on this bait at Logan Martin, but this was definitely a big player when it came to St. Clair, Leech Lake, and then just fishing around home, fun fishing on other lakes, fishing for big smallies and stuff. And that is the Missile Baits Bomb Shot. And one color specific has been huge for me this year, and that's Goby Bite. This color to me, it just is the epitome of what a smallmouth wants to eat. It looks like everything. Does it look like a goby? Yes, it does. It looks like a goby that sits on sand. And this is just a really quick sidebar, but gobies will replicate the cover that they're around. So if they're around dark rock, they're going to be a darker color. If they're on sand, they're going to be a lighter color. So this thing kind of looks like a goby that's been sitting on sand. It's got kind of a light back and then like a bluish belly, but it also looks a lot like a perch. And on St. Clair, on Leech Lake, and a lot of lakes in northern Wisconsin and even central Wisconsin, they eat perch. And this thing just gets bites. It's got a super subtle action. Most of the time when I throw this thing out and when I see a smallmouth on live scope and I throw it out there, I don't incorporate a lot of action. I let the weight hit the bottom and just hold it there and just wait, because you're bouncing around a little bit, the boat's moving. You know, that bait is not just sitting super still. This thing moves a lot. It's a really thin plastic tail, and it just has an awesome action. It's super subtle, and it gets a lot of bites. Guys, if you haven't checked out Missile Baits, or we've been living under a rock for some reason, I have no idea, but you gotta head over and check out all of the different baits that Missile has to offer. I mean, I left out quite a few that have all caught me fish, like the Destroyer, the Baby Destroyer, the 48, the Chunky D. They have a ton of soft plastics. The Spunk Shad is another one too. That they're super versatile. They work however you want them to. I mean, the Spunk Shad was basically made for a chatterbait trailer, but I've rigged it on a jig head, and like a jig head minnow, just like everybody in bass fishing is using these days. And that catches fish too. There's a ton of different soft plastic SKUs that they have, and you gotta go check them out. They all catch a lot of bass. These are just a couple that I've used all the way from Florida all the way through the Bassmaster Open season this year. These were all players for me. Caught a lot of fish on them, have a lot of confidence in them. Just want to share that with you guys so you guys can go out, check out some of these baits. I'll drop a link down below to Missile's website. Head on over, check them out. Got any questions, holler at me. Please like, subscribe to the channel if you like what you're watching. Got more stuff coming. Thanks, y'all. We'll see you on the next one.